Scruffy Audio Network.
Hey, how are you, Program Director? It's been a while.
Doing well.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm here on a Saturday with my main man. This guy's like a brother to me. He is my best friend, Bruce Wilkerson. Bruce, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. It's good to be here. Always good to see you, bro.
Man, finally got the big kahuna on the stage for the microphone. And I just wanted to rap with you a little about, like, where you've been, what you're doing. You're a legend in here, and I know a legend in Knoxville for what you've done for the University of Tennessee and where you came from, a hometown boy. But I do like to open up all my questions with one question for everybody. All my guests. When did you know that you were different? And before you answer that, let me give you a lead into this guy. This guy is a 11-year NFL vet, played at the University of Tennessee, played with the Raiders, played with the Packers, Super Bowl champion with the Packers, played with Jacksonville, went back to the Raiders, rehabbed his knee, and that's when we really started training hard. That was probably late 90s, right? What year was that, 98?
Probably. It was probably about 95, something like that. Yeah, when I transitioned from the Jacksonville Jaguars to the Green Bay Packers. So that's probably when we started rolling.
Then the Packers to the Raiders.
Yeah, then the Packers went back to the Raiders to call it quits.
And that's when Gruden was the coach when you went back.
Yeah.
And he was like super young.
Gruden, Albert Lewis, and myself, we were all the same age. So
Gruden's 55 to be? Or 55? Really? All right, so we'll get into a whole bunch of dialogue with all this. I'm so excited to have him here. He's my best friend. He's my brother. He's everything. He's loyal. When did you know that you were different?
I think it first started coming into my mind, your senior year at UT, and scouts are coming around talking to you. And the scout came around from the Giants, and we're downstairs in the little indoor track lanes right there by the training room.
Oh, that's old school.
And
down in Stokely.
Yeah, down in Stokely. So he comes up and he says, "You're that Wilkerson kid, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Coach Major's been bragging about you to me, telling you how good you are, like a man with boys on the field." And I was like, "Wait a minute, Coach Majors hates me." I said, "Coach Majors, rides my back all the way through practice. He'll see something that he wants done better or something like that." And, that right there made me realize that he didn't dislike me, but he was pushing me so I would know that I could take things further than I had in my own mind, that I could push myself or my body to do more than I thought I could.
And you played in the Sugar Bowl, the 1986 Sugar Bowl, right?
Miami. Played against Miami.
And you guys won. Do you remember that?
They whipped them. Oh, yeah. There used to be a video of it.
I was actually pretty blessed in that game. I started that game at right guard, and then I bounced and played some right tackle. Then I bounced and played a left tackle.
In the game?
So I actually played 3 positions in that game. So, it was pretty, as a junior, in college. So,
wow.
that was pretty freakish.
That's unheard of, isn't it? In the championship bowl game, something. I don't know if they had championship back then. No, I don't think.
Well,
the Sugar Bowl
was a big game.
What were you guys ranked?
SEC, we were ranked 4th, and Miami was always ranked number 1 in the country.
Vinny Testaverde.
So, Vinny Testaverde. They had
was Alonzo Highsmith there?
Jerome Brown. You had Highsmith. You had Benny Blake.
Was Michael Irvin?
Daniel Stubbs. Yeah, the whole
crew was there.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's when they had probably about 17, 18 guys that was going to go to the NFL. They had a squad.
Yeah, they had a squad. Was Schnellenberger was it Jimmy? Jimmy Johnson, right?
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson.
All right, so I know a little about your growing up. Is that correct? In high school, you didn't play football until...
I tried to play football, sort of like pee-wees, whatever. But down in Loudon, they had like a weight limit. And it was funny. All of my buddies were playing from my hometown, which was a little city of Philadelphia, Tennessee, which had a bunch of boys. So they all played pee-wee. and we worked on the farm quite a bit. So you'd go and try to make it. And I remember somebody saying, "What's he doing sitting in that car?" And Buster Custee had a old Plymouth Fury, and I was trying to make weigh-in. So I was trying to drop 6 or 7 pounds so I could play. So I'm sitting in that car with a homemade sweatsuit, a plastic bag with a head cut out in the arms, and you're trying to lose 6 or 7 pounds just so you could play. And then my dad finally caught wind of it, and that was the end of me trying to play Pee Wee. So we played on Sundays after church.
So you didn't play until high school again, correct?
Yeah, I didn't play organized till high school.
And then but that's still not when you thought, as you answered, you were different at UT. I think it's kind of
no. I didn't think I was different. I was big for my age back then. So, I was big enough to play with the big kids, but mentally wasn't ready to play with the big kids. So, that right there put a different spin on it as to where, but that's probably what made me push myself, because playing on Sundays in the backyard, there ain't no weight limit. There ain't no age limit. Anybody wants to come play, where you come play.
So were you the same height in high school? Did you do any big growth phase from high school to college?
I'd say when I came in to college, I was probably 6'4", something like that. Yeah. And I've probably grown 2 inches since going into college.
So your tallest was, how tall were you when you were your healthiest and your youngest?
6'6".
And how tall do you think you are now?
I'm probably 6'5.5" now. Maybe 6'5".
That's not bad. Okay,
yeah,
just an inch.
I've shrunk. Yeah,
just an inch and 6'5". I'd take that being 5'10". I would take a couple inches. I mean, wouldn't we all? All right. So after that, take me through how that, like, Coach Majors tells you, or tells the scout, hey, this you gotta go look at this guy. He's gonna be pretty good, or whatever. Take me through that process of where do you go from there?
Definitely going from there, you had quite a few agents coming in, trying to talk to you, trying to look at you, trying to tell you where you were going to go in the draft. And it was just a process of, I didn't really think about playing in the NFL until I was really a senior. I was just having fun playing football. And then, once that point came, is like, well, you can take it to the next level. And I think other people thought about it for me, but I was just having fun, man. And the process, you really got to be focused, and you really got to believe in yourself that you can get there and you can get it done. Because, other people's going to tell you, well, no, you came from the country. You're used to digging in the dirt, playing on the farm, playing with animals, and taking that next step to the big league. That's a big step. When I first got there and see all the guys and see how the guys are built and physiques and stuff, and I'm sitting there saying, well, I might have made a wrong turn.
Well, here's your thing is you said one thing that if everybody's watching or listening out there, he said, I was just having fun. And being in the business that I am and watching all these kids and training all these kids, nobody looks like they're having fun anymore like they used to. Why do you think that's so different now than when you played and everybody did their thing back then? I know one thing is, I'm not answering this for you, I want to hear that answer, but the one thing is, when you got ready for combine training, you guys just worked out. It wasn't so specialized now where you go to these academies and this resort, or hell, even come here to the Woodgym and live with me for 6-8 weeks. It wasn't like that back then, even though you did the same drills, correct?
Yep, the same drills. I think it's the different aspect that they put on numbers. Everything now is more being put on numbers. I know scouts, you used to call us in the morning and, you'd be over in your bed sleep, and you'd wake up and put some cleats on and go over to the bubble, the indoor facility at the time, or if it was nice enough to go outside, and they'd draw a line in the dirt and draw another line in the dirt, and, you run from A to B and do your shoulders, whatever, and be like, okay, see you. But now, you know, it's a lot more science into it, a lot more focus to get the maximum performance out of your body. So that puts a different stress on athletes from a young age all the way through.
So you're saying that's your correlation of not having as much fun.
Yeah.
Right, because
I mean,
even the baseball is that. It's the velo, it's the bat
Yeah.
speed, it's the arm speed, it's the ball speed. Everything's measurable.
There was a coach for the Packers, Sherm Lewis, and he used to always say, you know, he would talk about the process, the scouting, and the draft, and you know, he would just always say, the main question that they fail to ask sometimes, can the kid play football?
Right.
And you know, that's the biggest thing, or is the kid having fun playing football?
Right, because you just said fun. So you take me through, you came out as a senior, correct? So you played to your senior year.
Yeah, to my senior.
And then, you know, you knew at that point, probably your senior year, that you were going to be a pretty big deal if everything went right.
Yeah.
So after that, you probably did, this was 1986, 87, correct?
Yes,
So everybody just stayed back, usually just trained at the college.
Yep,
For
everybody.
combine.
Yep.
So you were a combine invite.
Yeah.
Back in that day, not too many probably know this that are listening or watching, they had a Japan Bowl.
Yeah, definitely.
And being your close friend, you went to that. You went to a Japan Bowl. Nobody knows that.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. A kid from Philadelphia, Tennessee, which is a very, very country town here in Knoxville, Tennessee.
It was an experience. I mean, it was my first passport. It was my first time leaving the country. It was my first time actually flying on a long overseas flight. And you know, just getting over there, and the whole culture's different. At that time, there wasn't very many signs of things in English, which the way it is now over in Japan, you know, there's signs in English, but you had to like go out and explore. You had to count a train stop so you'd know that you was back in the same place. Just being there with all the guys from the other different schools and being able to compete for the first time and see how you compete, you know, playing in the Southeastern Conference, and you know, all the guys that you played against that were top tier guys in the conference that decided to come to that game. I mean, it was a real experience. The culture of Japan, just seeing how it was different. I remember I never had a boom box, and I traded a guy a pair of those orange shoes that we wore against Alabama.
And everybody threw out.
Yeah, and you know, Alabama blew us out that game, so Coach Major said, well, let's get rid of the orange. We'll never wear those orange high tops again.
I remember.
So I took a couple pair with me when I went to Japan, and I actually, you know, traded those shoes for a boombox. And ironically, when we played there with the Raiders, played the Miami Dolphins in Japan, and one of the American Bowls, you know, the NFL was trying to promote football overseas, and that same kid showed up, and he still had those orange high-top Nike. Yeah,
no way.
Yeah.
Dude,
you
that's
know,
crazy.
I mean, he showed up to the bus saying, hey, cousin. Yeah, you know, it's like cool.
And you remember
the
shoes
it
came
was
from
great
him.
to see. Yeah.
Holy smokes, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So you could have, back then, did they have the Senior Bowl? The Senior Bowl, Japan Bowl, Hula Bowl, or not even the Hula Bowl?
Yeah. The Senior Bowl was the real competition bowl where you win and you did specific NFL drills. Mm-hmm. It was set up with NFL teams coaching you. So I actually twisted my ankle down there at the Senior Bowl on the second day. So obviously I must have had two pretty good days of practice before I twisted my ankle.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's all you had? You didn't play?
No, didn't play any game.
And then, so you go on and after the Japan Bowl and the Senior Bowl, you just go back to UT and train for what? For workouts or just really?
Just training for the combine.
Yeah.
I mean.
And they still have the short shuttle, the L, the vert, the broad.
Yeah. I consider myself an explosive player, but I wasn't really super strong upper body, so I was mainly working on getting a stronger upper body. I was very blessed and fortunate to have long arms, but that was my main goal for the combine, was to improve bench press.
Yeah, well, with long arms, that's a detriment. Yeah. It's different. It's hard for you guys, but like you said, once the joint's locked out, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
All right, so you go to the combine. How did that go?
That went pretty good. I mean, I went for one thing. I went to take the drug test, and we had some problems at the University of Tennessee. We had some guys that got involved in some things. So everybody was looking for the athletes that came out of UT to fail the drug test. So me being young and dumb and whatever, I get to the combine, and I'm supposed to take the drug test on Wednesday. So we get there on a Monday night. So I had a couple of friends that lived in Indianapolis. So we all go out and have a few drinks and stay out late, because all I had to do was take a Wonderlic test and the bench press test and just talk to people, because I had a bad ankle from the Senior Bowl. So I really wasn't going to run or do any shuttles or anything of that sort. So unknown to me, I get a call Tuesday morning. Jerry Ball's my roommate, and he says, homie, says, phone call for you. And I'm thinking like, okay, something's happened at home or something. But they had changed my drug test day from Wednesday to Tuesday morning. So we was out, fairly late, and we got in. So there's no way. I actually failed that for alcohol. So that was probably a detriment to me at the combine. I did good on a Wonderlic test and interviewing with coaches and talking to personnel guys. But yeah, I stuck my foot in it on the drug test.
And so you slipped down from the drug test.
Yep, I slipped down to the second round.
But you were a first round guy.
I was projected to be a first round guy. But that's the thing about it. I mean, it's a projection, so there's really no guarantee. But everything worked out. I ended up going to a very good organization, the Los Angeles Raiders.
What year was that?
That was in 1987.
Wasn't that when didn't they have like a lockout? What year was that?
Yeah, that was the strike year. Yeah, so my first year there, yeah, you go out and NFL's going through a strike. So you figure, okay, I'm coming from college and I ain't never made any money like this. So, and the thing about it was the team really didn't put pressure on you to do one way or the other. All they said was, we understand rookies that, hey, if y'all want to play, we understand, because y'all never made any money. And, basically my thing was like, okay, these are the biggest checks I've ever seen in my life. So yeah.
Yeah, but with the vets,
go to work.
Didn't you catch a lot of shit with the vets?
Yeah, but we
did Howie Long play?
Yeah, I think Howie came in.
He came in, right?
I'm not. Yeah, I think I remember right. Yeah, so we had a couple vets that came in too. So, but I mean, they basically understood. Now the biggest thing was coming into practice. And they didn't really hackle us too much, because we had been there and been to mini camps and whatever. But on the picket lines, I mean, that was my first real experience on the picket lines.
So the picket line was players?
Yeah.
Vet players. Like, could you remember
vet
somebody?
Players, right?
Like, who'd you play with the Raiders? I mean, if we got to get into it, like studs.
Studs.
Bo Jacksons, the Marcus Allens.
Bo Jacksons, the Marcus Allens, the Ronnie Lotts, the Howie Longs, the Greg Townsends, the Mike Haynes, the Lester Hayes, Matt Millen.
Was Steve Smith there? Yes,
Steve Smith, fullback, my best friend.
Yeah. I just remember Penn State guy.
And
so all these guys
I was very, very blessed. Outside linebacker from USC, Rod Martin. I mean, there was some studs.
And they're on the big one.
Oh, yeah.
Yelling at you.
Yeah, yelling, calling scabs, whatever. But I mean, some of the other guys that,
were still picketing,
that hadn't been to training camp, they really caught it. Scab, go home. Yeah, Vince Evans came back and I was quarterback doing that. Yeah, so.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was different, man.
And that was just 1 year. That was
87. Yeah, I mean, and I hadn't even been in a year. I mean, I got drafted, went to the draft, and I did that out for the mini camp. So, you figuring 5, 6 months afterwards, all this is going on. So it was.
And that was LA. That's when they moved from Oakland to LA.
Yeah, well, they were already there, but yeah, I mean, I was definitely an LA Raider. Henry Lawrence, Bruce Davis, Don Mosbar, Charlie Hanna, Nicky Marvin was there. They had some vets playing on that team that were willing to teach us young guys how to play football at the next level. And I think I was very blessed to come up during that period. We had great coaching. Art Shell was the assistant offensive line coach that coached the tackles, all-pro Hall of Fame tackles. So, we really had great mentors there that really taught us how to play the game and taught us how to correct ourselves if something was happening to you during the game.
You know what? That is funny that a kid from Philadelphia went to LA, to Los Angeles. How was that adjustment?
It was a huge adjustment. I mean, the funniest story is getting off there at the airport, renting a car, going over to the facility, whatever. And, I get there early. So we've got a meeting later on that day. And, the worst thing that you don't want to do is be late on the first day. Coach Majors always taught us 5 minutes early is being on time, whatever. So I get to driving, through Los Angeles in a rent-a-car. And you fly into LAX and, you're driving down the 405 and you see Long Beach Airport. And so you start thinking, okay, they got 2 airports out here. And then you drive a little further to Orange County, then you see John Wayne. And then, you're saying 3. And then
What's John Wayne?
John Wayne Airport down in Long Beach. So you sit there and say, okay, damn, they got 3 airports. So now you get down to the 5 and you hit the 5 and you head north. And then you see Ontario Airport. You're like,
oh, that's what Ryan Mills for.
Yeah. You're kind of like, damn, they got 4 airports here. And then you get back over to Hollywood area, and then you see Burbank. So you're like, where in the hell am I at that they got 5 airports in the city? I mean, it was definitely a shock. And then, you always knew that going towards the mountains was going north, and going away from the mountains was going south. Just as a country boy without GPS at the time, so you're trying to figure landmarks. So I got over in the valley one night, and then there was mountains at the south of me, and there was mountains to the north of me. So now I'm lost. Like, where do you go? And then you're trying to get somebody to tell you, and you're pulling up to people, they don't know, so you're kind of like panicking. But everything worked out. But it was just a funny experience being over there at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, lost.
How long did you stay in LA?
I stayed in LA till 1994. When I left and went to Jacksonville, I brought a house back here in Knoxville 2 years prior. I remember George Karras worked for the Raiders. He's a great guy, and he kind of handled most of the business end. And we used to laugh about it all the time when I would go back to alumni weekend, and he'd say, you remember when you brought that house? And Al said, make sure everything goes right on that house purchase back in Tennessee for the kid. Yeah, so we'd always laugh about it.
That's crazy. So you were, what, 6 years with the Raiders?
No. I got drafted in 87.
Okay.
And I stayed with the Raiders all the way through till 1995. 95, I went down to Jacksonville for the inaugural year, and my body just wouldn't hold up. I mean, Tom Coughlin was a good coach, but I mean, everybody was the same. I mean, if it was your first year or your last year, everybody was the same. And,
no earrings.
Yeah. I mean, no earrings. I mean,
15 minutes early.
Collar dress shirt. I mean, which was all fine, but you know, the biggest thing is that 30 to 35-year-old that doesn't recover like that 20 to 28-year-old recovers. Yeah. So you know, you got to prepare yourself to go in and play the game a little bit different. But then I fortunately got reunited with Ron Wolf at Green Bay.
How long were you with the Jags?
I was with the Jags that inaugural year.
Just 1 year?
Just 1 year.
And for people out there listening and watching this, I've heard a lot of these stories since 1986 with this cat. It's 2019, but that's why I had to get them all on the table so everybody else could enjoy these most honest, unbelievable stories. It's almost like they're not true. All right, so you go through. So from were you released after Jacksonville?
Yeah. I mean, I came home and trained up here. Me and you trained and trained hard, and I just didn't go back for any of the mandatory camps or anything. And the fourth time Tom Coughlin called me, I mean, he called me to release me. I knew he was calling to release me. But, I mean, my
part of the business.
Yeah, part of the business. My body wouldn't hold up. I mean, you never take anything personal in that business. I mean, it's a business where either three things are going to happen. You're either going to get hurt, you're going to get cut, or you're going to retire. And it's going to be
one of the three is going to happen.
Yeah,
correct?
It's going to definitely be one.
So
of the
you know, I've worked with all these athletes too, and they. You know, Bruce, that's why I love when you're around all these guys, soaking it up at the house or in the Woodgym here, because they don't understand that. A lot of them, you know, they take it personal, you know, and you've always said, and the thing about Bruce Wilkerson that people don't know is he handles his business like anybody else. And I remember him telling me this because Bruce is older than me, so he's like my big brother also. He took care of me when I was at UT, so we get that. Is he said, no matter what's going on in your personal life, when you step inside that building, put it all aside and handle yourself as a professional. I remember you saying that all the time, and not taking anything personal or bring the personal to you. And actually, that's the way I try to hold up my business with, you know, any conflicts and personal stuff that's going on in my life. So, I mean, kudos to you with that. So now you go to the back, or did you have other teams?
There was probably other teams, but I mean, Reggie McKenzie worked for the Packers, and
was Reggie White with the Packers then, or
Reggie White was with the Packers. I'd been up there the year before. I signed with Jacksonville, and I was actually in there with the Packers, and it was the same amount of money. And I was afraid of the cold weather. The Los Angeles Raiders played there on December 26th, I believe it was 1993. Probably the coldest I'd ever been in my life. After I got there, I found out that's when Leroy started the Lambeau Leap. Leroy Butler started the Lambeau Leap. Reggie batted the ball and caught it. And then he pitched it back to Leroy. Leroy ran it in for a touchdown. The whole field was a sheet of ice, and he jumped up in the stands. So I get there, and I'm talking to Leroy, and you know, he's filling me in on you know how the Lambeau Leap got started or whatever. But it was just an experience. As I said, I was afraid to go. And I was sitting at home watching the Packers play the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC Championship game. Ken Ruckers was hurt, and they needed a left tackle. And I was sitting there saying, I pissed away my only chance to ever play in the Super Bowl by being afraid of a little bit of cold weather.
So how did you find yourself to the Packers?
I went back up there, and I'm sitting in Ron's office, and he's got a dry erase board. And he pulls up the temperatures of all the home games for the past 2 years. And, you know, we're sitting there talking, and I start laughing. I'm like, y'all was playing Dallas in the NFC Championship game, right? On the doorsteps of the Super Bowl. And I said, hey, I don't care what the temperatures are. I'm coming.
And I know I don't want to go too far ahead, but you really enjoyed Green Bay.
Oh yeah, I mean,
you still go up there.
It was a different, a different pace.
How many years were you there?
The people were real nice. 2.5.
And the year, was it the first year you went to the Super Bowl against the Pats?
Yep. First year we went to Super Bowl against the Pats. The second year we got all the way back to the Super Bowl. I tell people it was a combination of being banged up and getting the big head. Since we won the Super Bowl the year before, we relaxed one game too early.
And I watch him on NFL Network. They play that Super Bowl game, and he's on there. He's playing, I think you're playing right tackle. Left tackle?
Oh, left tackle.
You're playing left tackle.
In Super Bowl 31, I played left tackle.
Yeah.
I was actually backup all year. It's kind of funny as you tell people. Coach Tom Lovat back at the time, they didn't have wireless headsets on the sideline, so I would tell people. I said, well, I was the highest paid cord holder in the NFL because I would hold Tom Lovat's cord and stand there beside him and just see what I see, because I didn't dress probably the first 4 or 5 games of the season. I was in street clothes.
And then how did you get back in injury?
2 or 3 guys got banged up, started playing, and I came in and played right guard for somebody got banged a little bit. I played right tackle for a couple of games. Somebody got banged, and that's basically what I was there for. When Ron told me he signed me, I was an insurance policy if someone got banged up, because I could play 4 out of the 5 positions.
All right, here's a good question. What was the coldest game? Against who and the temperature at Lambeau?
I'd say the coldest game that I've been in was that Raiders Packers game. But back when we had our Super Bowl runs, I would say the coldest game would have been we played the 49ers the year of Super Bowl 31, and it was cold and wet. And then we played Carolina for the championship game, and it was just cold. And for Super Bowl 32, we had the championship game out in San Francisco, so we had to go on the road. But I don't remember the temperatures, but those were the 2 coldest games of the season that year.
One of the games I went to, and I don't know if a lot of people remember this, it was, I would say, when did you go to Jacksonville? 95?
Yeah, 95.
All right, so it had to be 94 when I was training Carl Pickens with Cincinnati Bengals, and you were with the Raiders. Yeah. And I went with Jerry Colquitt, who was a UT quarterback here. We went to watch Pick, and you were playing, you and T-Mac, Terry McDaniel were playing, so we were like, hey, we get to watch a lot of guys. That was the coldest football game I've ever sat in the stands for.
Cincinnati can be hit or miss. Kansas City can be hit or miss. As far as just being blistered, Denver can be hit or miss.
So the coldest game was in Green Bay? No, like 4 below. Like did you?
Well, I mean, at the end of that game, the game with the Raiders. At the end of the game in Green Bay, I think it was -2, something like that. Was the temp? I mean, it was chilly.
Do you get your head right a different way for that? Or is that just, hey, this is what we got to do? Or are you one of those guys that wears no sleeves and I'm a tough guy? Or
Well, we didn't really know how to handle it. I mean, we just had rumors or whatever. Fortunately, Harry Galbraith and Reggie White played, and they told me to wear sneakers. And it was kind of funny because I'm telling guys in the locker room, hey, my buddies that play for the Packers said, just wear sneakers, They're like, you're crazy. Wear sneakers, whatever. So I was like, oh.
On grass?
Yeah, I said, I trust them because the whole field is a sheet of ice. So we go out for pregame, and guys got 7 studs on. 7 studs don't sink in the ice. So you got 7 points touching on the shoe. Or if you got molded bottom cleats touching, because, nothing goes down in the ice. So you're just whatever. So it was better to have your whole foot on the ground versus just being up on those points.
It's like ice skates.
Yeah, it's like ice skates. So you come back in after pregame and everybody's looking for sneakers.
No way.
yeah. Has anybody got some tennis shoes?
No way.
That's crazy. So, that was so different. I made this concoction up. I was sitting there thinking about it. So I took Kramer's Red Hot and Vaseline and mixed it together. And I rubbed it all over my whole body, sort of like being manipulated or whatever, just trying to stay warm. The funny part back then was the other team furnished the visiting team their heat equipment and stuff to keep them warm on the sidelines or whatever. About the middle of the first quarter, our shit stopped working. Yeah, so you sat there and say, "Oh, okay, home field advantage," which that's changed now. Each team brings their own, but I mean, it was just kind of great because coming from Southern California, where 40 degrees is going to be cold, and then you get put in 3 or 4 degrees at the start of the game, and they put you on the shady side of the field. So, all of those little home field advantages, as somebody used to always say, at home, I know where all the potholes is and all that stuff in my yard. So if we're playing in my yard, I'm going to be just a little bit better because of the home field advantage.
I like that. Did you stay up in the off season, or did you come home?
I came home in the off season.
Did a lot of players
from
come
Green
home?
Bay. Yeah, quite a few players came home.
But you have your family up there. You go up there quite often, don't you?
Well, I've got friends.
Yeah,
friends.
like Packer fans. They treat you right.
They treat you right. I mean, I was very blessed to play with two teams that really were deep in tradition. Treat their ex-players excellent. The biggest thing that you hear from fans is up there that you guys can get together and y'all ain't been together in 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and everybody's talking, laughing, and having a good time like you didn't miss a beat. And the whole key to having a championship team is having that camaraderie of everybody loving everybody, everybody respecting everybody, and everybody getting along. I mean, there's going to be disagreements and arguments, but it's just like family. And at the end of the day, we're all family and we're all in it together. And I got to have that belief that the guy playing next to me is going to do his job to the best of his ability, and I'm going to do my job to the best of my ability.
And we talked about that and listened to some podcasts now that I'm in the biz of understanding how these work. Is Steve Nash, a former NBA guy that consults with the Warriors, he was talking about you have to treat it like a Navy SEAL. You have to love the partner next to you or your teammate more than yourself, and that's the only way it works. And Popovich from the Spurs talks about the same way. Do you believe in that?
I definitely believe in that. I mean,
do you find that it's different now? I mean, I know I do. When you talk about everything, we know this with all these kids. It's never, hey, how'd you guys do? It's always, how did you do?
Yeah.
The parents are, how did you do? Or what? This is what I did, not that we won. Do you find it's more singular?
Yeah. I mean, at UT in college, I didn't know we had that hit factor, but we all liked each other and got along, from the coaches to the players. All had a deep respect. So I get to the Raiders, and there's this thing called camaraderie. And, everybody's like, what the hell is camaraderie? And camaraderie is where every Thursday night, everybody on the team stop by a restaurant or stop by a bar and socialize. I mean, some people socialize for 25, 30 minutes. Some people socialize for 4 hours. But you had 100% participation in it. And then, Steve Berline was down in Jacksonville with me. And,
he's a former Raider.
Yeah, former Raider. So we tried to get that going down there. And then that's when I seen the league going more towards, okay, I've been with you all day, at work. So now I want to go do my thing. I want to be individuals. And I think that's when I saw the league start switching to, okay, we work together, but are we that real close-knit family like you got to be to win championships? And I definitely think that it's more singular now than back then. I mean, I think there's a feeling now. I mean, I just sat back and try to imagine myself coming in the league, rooming with Henry Lawrence, big number 70 killer, the right tackle for the Raiders, and I'm coming to take his job, and he's not going to help me one bit. And, you know, back when I came in, he taught me everything he knew about the NFL. And so I was fortunately very blessed to be around good, strong, confident guys, you know, that he had a long career. You know, he had played 14 years.
So that hits on another topic, is that even the new athletes I'm training, the new NFL guys, they talk a lot about singular, and they talk a lot about like the next one, or this guy is not really helping the third string guy in the meeting at all. It's like, you figure it out. You know, why do you think it's come that way? Because social media, or just all about them, or do you, as everybody says, I'm working on me? And
well, I mean, I just think that they've got an unrealistic view of I'm gonna play this game as long as I can, and I'm gonna play this game as long as I can, or as long as my athletic ability allows. But they're making so much money now that, you know, you creep an extra year in. I mean, that's a lot of money.
So we talked about this. A lot of people don't know, but you were, I don't know, this first pick of the second round. What was your pick? You remember?
52nd or 53rd. I'm not exactly sure.
All right, but you were top two
yeah.
tackles in the country getting drafted. Top three, top two.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the second round. I'd say I might have been, if you look at it on a guess, I'd say I might have been the 8th, 9th, or 10th offensive tackle taken. I don't remember.
Okay. All right, but you were high up, second round draft pick. The point being, if you don't mind, and I understand if you don't want to, that's your private thing, but like your biggest contract, your biggest salary with your signing bonus.
Biggest salary with signing bonus, I'd say the most I made in a year is $500,000.
Right. So now I know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you would say that.
Yeah.
What you did is, you're exactly right, because I don't think everybody played for the money. We make a living, we understand what we're doing, but it's not. It was probably more camaraderie and more get together, because not everybody's looking at, you know, 10 million, 11 million a year contracts, correct? I mean, would you say something like that?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, you're like, cool, I'm doing something better than what I'd be doing at an office job. I'm getting paid something, and, you know, like you said, a kid coming from Loudon.
Yeah. Well, we used to look at it like, I mean, you know, you keep your body in shape all year round, but you looked at like, I'm making X amount of dollars for working 6 months out of the year. You know, you work year round, but the keeping your body in shape, the training and all that, the majority is on your own dime. Or like they started my second year in the league, is they had off season. So, you know, you got X amount of dollars to stay around and train in the off season with the team.
Right.
And so if you're in a city like Los Angeles or somewhere, Miami or somewhere where a lot of people that they want to come, stay, and work out, then you work out right there in your facility majority of times.
Yeah, but you even said, you know, the contrary to that, or the other side of that, is you said, we use training camp to get into shape.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if there were many, you know, Petrones out there that everybody worked with 3 or 4 months off the year. It was more on you and to rest, or whatever everybody did, or some, you know, light physical activities. But I remember you saying we use training camp to get into shape. Now everybody's so redlined, they're in shape maybe past overtraining, you know, and getting to camp, and then they're hitting the burnout because they're doing too much.
And it could be. I mean, that could be a factor on the injuries, but I mean, it's so precise now that you know, guys are keeping their bodies in shape year round.
Right.
See, we used to be in shape, and you get in shape. Then when the season was over, a lot of guys, they would take 2 months and do nothing.
When you were first with the Raiders at halftime, could you share any of those things?
Oh, definitely.
If you can't, that's okay. That's all
well, you come in at halftime and you come out of college and, you're so used to the Johnny Major structure or whatever. And then, you come in and you see a couple of guys start smoking cigarettes and stuff doing halftime.
playing cards.
It's kind of a shock, come in and just to see music in the locker rooms kind of, if you had music, you had your own personal headphones. But see, we was in such a close-knit group, at the Raiders, we had a guy that played the music. Yeah,
like
so,
a DJ.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was on the team, but he
was the guy.
Yeah, he'd bring his music in, Frankie Beverly, Mays. You was just getting ready to go to war, and some people think it's weird that you call it going to war, but
right.
I mean, it's kind of like fighting against a family member.
Right.
I want to win, but I'm not intentionally trying to hurt you.
Right. No, I think that story it's always sits in my mind of Wilkie saying,
just take a pack of cigarettes out and here we
playing
go.
cards, pack of cigarettes, and he was like, "What in the hell is going on here?" But it was like so that's where I was taking it is like the sports performance is a whole different level than what it was. I mean, it was amazing what everybody just played, and it wasn't like you said. It's year-round now.
Yeah. Before,
you thought 6 months on, 6 months off. Other people had different jobs. Some of the guys I know were doing different things.
Well, I mean, I think that kind of helps, too, when you do different things. Because while you're playing, companies want you around. And guys that have their degrees, take advantage of that. Intern with some companies. If there's something you think you want to do, try it. 2 days a week for 4 hours a day, 6 hours a day, 3 days a week. That gets your foot in the door, and that gets you some experience at that business that you want to try or go into. Because to be successful at something, you really got to have some experience in it.
So you finish up with the Packers.
No. I went back to the Raiders. They were the Oakland Raiders at the time.
Right. We were training them, but when you knew, did you get the same call like you did from Tom with the Jacksonville Jags? You get it from Ron Wolf, hey, we're going to let you go.
Yeah, I didn't get a call. I just got go up and see Ron Wolf. I was injured. I'd separated.
What year was this?
This was in '98. I'd separated my fib over in the Japan Bowl, which was my third time going over there. And Mike Holmgren said, "I've never said you've got cousins everywhere."
So, the guy with the orange shoes.
Yeah, so I started laughing, and Ron Wolf wants to see you. I figured that's what it was. Right. I got an injury settlement, and I left Green Bay.
Did you sit out for a while?
Yeah, I was down here. I was out on Fort Loudon Lake on the boat, whatever. My wife called me and said, Ken Heron called you. Mm-hmm. From the Raiders. He wants you to call him back. And I was like, yeah, right. Ken Heron. I said, that's one of my old teammates playing a joke or something. Just hang up. So then about 15 minutes later, she was like, well, he called back. So Ken Heron called back. And I said, they're really trying to get me. I said, they're trying to, well, whatever. Then the third time, about 30 minutes later, she said, he called back and said, Mr. Davis said for you to call him. And I was like, okay, I guess I better call him if Al told me to call him. So I called him, and he said, how quick can you be to the airport? Said, we need a tackle. And I was like, well, I'm coming off an injury, whatever. He was like, well, we're bringing another guy in, a younger guy. And I said, all right. And then so I go home, and I said, well, just give me a backpack. I said, I ain't going to be long because they're bringing another guy in. I mean, at the time, I'm 34 years old, and I was like, yeah, So I jump on the plane and go out there. And
now you're out in Oakland.
Yeah, out in Oakland, and I have a better workout than the younger guy, or I've got more experience, and they keep me as a backup for the Raiders. So I was actually there, and was with the team. Kind of tweaked my ankle, and then at the end of that season, I had ankle surgery, and
that was it. Now you're over. Who was on the team the year that you played with Oakland?
On the team, the year that I played with Oakland was
Marinovich?
No, Opie came when I was
first time.
When I was out there the first time.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a kid that had a lot of talent and a lot of promise.
Yeah, that was the phenom that Sports Illustrated did tons of stories on.
Yeah,
tons. He was the one where the dad never had him eat a Big Mac, fries, anything. This was 1987. I remember it was him and another kid from California, the two biggest quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, he was football smart, beyond his.
And the training was way.
He never did anything, did he?
No.
I know Al sent Steve Smith and Ethan Horton down there to train with Marv for a off season.
Yeah. Marv Marinovich was ahead of his time with balance training and no shoes in his garage. If correct me if I'm wrong.
Down in Orange County.
I studied all that stuff back then of like who was, and he was a guy that was way ahead, and the nutrition, the sleep, I mean, the throwing coach, the mechanics. I mean, he knew that he was going to do that, right?
Yeah.
So then you finish in 98, and then the other thing that I see a lot with the business that I'm in, how is the adjustment? How do you work your way back into normal life, or, the society of what do I do now? You're 34 years of age. We know football's a small window. I hear you all the time, Fudd, in here talking about that to all the guys in here. Like, hey, listen, this ain't going to last for long. I mean, we've been lucky enough with the Penningtons and the Harrison Smiths and, of course, the Heltons, the guys that come through here that played a longer time than you're supposed to, and you're one of them also. But how do you fit yourself back into the planet?
Well, I think you just got to be realistic about it. I mean, I think a lot of guys think like, okay, I've been making this much money, and I come out to the real world to get a job, and somebody offers me $43,000 or $45,000 a year, and they're telling me that I got to work the whole year. So that puts a whole different spin on what you've been doing. I was very fortunate enough to. I think I was so down to earth that I realized that I put an application in. My uncles worked at Alcoa aluminum plant, so they was putting applications in, whatever. So I was still playing, so I filled out an application and put it in. So fortunately, when I retired, or I didn't retire after the '98 season, at the beginning of '99, they called. And they wanted to offer me a job. I think it might have been April or something. It might have been February, March, or April, somewhere right around in there. And I was going to try to play that 13th season to max out my pension. Because at the time, your pension maxed out at 13 years. So I told them, no, just keep my name in the pool. So then I never got to go back and play after that 98 season. So, I never got signed. I remember talking to a buddy of mine, Dr. Pat McKenzie from the Green Bay Packers. And, he's sitting there saying, well, your body's been beat up quite enough. And if you want any quality of life, said, it'd be a good time to kind of stop playing. He said, I'd hate to see you leave this game and not be able to walk or not be able to enjoy grandkids or anything of that sort. So, I was very fortunate to have some good advice. So then I came back and I said, okay, well, they'll call. So I waited around about a year and a half for them to call back. So they never did. So I said, well, I'm going to go get a job. So I started fiddle fumbling around. And the biggest thing about getting a job after you've played professional sports is everyone's thought you've made so much money is their thing is, why do you want to work? And I bet 3 places told me, well, why do you want to work? So they kind of figure that you don't need to work, so you're not going to come to work or not going to be very into it or something, but they just feel that way. And I'm kind of like, well, the guys that are on TV talking and making money that way, they did the same thing I did, but they still want to work. So that's why I want to work. So I finally got a job at East Staley's down there in the alcohol department, fermenting reject corn syrup into alcohol grade vinegar.
Where's this?
Down in Loudon, Tennessee, on the river. So I worked down there for a couple of years. And then that application that I filled out a long time ago, they gave me a call and said, well, do you want to come to work? And then, so I had to go and take a physical. And then that's how I started working for Alcoa Aluminum Company, which is now changed to Arconic. And I think that we're getting ready to be sold again here at the first of the year.
And how long have you been doing that?
I've been there 18 and a half years. It'll be 19 years, February 2nd.
On top of raising cattle and working the farm in Philadelphia, correct?
Yeah, on top of trying to do my best to raise cattle. I mean, I think I've grown a little bit too big for my britches, so I've got to downsize a little bit now on the farming thing, because as long as I'm working for Arconic, I mean, my time is very limited, and that's seeming to take all of my extra time.
I know, I wish I could see him more, because this guy always grinds, he's always working, but, you know, the reason I wanted him on here is for his uncanny truth of, we just took it from start to finish of how it goes and how it plays and how it ends, and then how you function after the end. And I just want to tell you, man, I appreciate the time of taking an hour. I know your time's valuable, and I moved you around yesterday to today, and that's on me. But, I mean, you're a friend, a brother, and I only wish you the best in life, and stay healthy for me, okay?
All right, bro. I appreciate the opportunity, and just remember, movement is the fountain of youth.
That is. Time moves. Thanks, man.